Hi guys! Welcome to Rotterdam, which is one of the biggest and representative cities in Netherlands. Before our city tour, we'd like to give you a quick question. What do you think of when you hear Rotterdam? Maybe the Cube House? Or Erasmus Bridge? But here's the thing. Do you actually know why these structures are so famous? Today, we would like to unpack these symbols more than just themselves. The story of Rotterdam. Let's get started. Arrived at Rotterdam Central Station. As we learned in the class, Rotterdam was one of the very first cities bombed by the Nazis in May 1940. It was nearly wiped off the map. However, instead of replicating the past, Rotterdam said tabula rasa, which means clean slate. In other words, Rotterdam wanted to show their bold will to freely rewrite the future of their city with completely new and modern architecture. Following the road, you can see the Timber House. Glass, steel, super modern, right? But right next to it, you can realize that not everything is new. Look at this beautiful city hall. Compared to Timber House, it is like a time traveler from a different era. The city hall miraculously survived the 1940 bombing. That is, it's one of the few historical landmarks that stood tall when everything else turned to rubble. So you can see the Timber House representing the city's bold future and the city hall representing the resilient past. Moving on to another place, there is a pencil house, which actually looks like a giant pencil. And there are cube houses as well. They are literally cubes tilted 45 degrees and resting on thin pillars. Designed by architect Pete Blom, he envisioned this whole complex as a forest, where each cube is a tree. And looking down from the cube house now, you can see the Oude Haven, the old port of Rotterdam. This area is where Rotterdam's story as a massive trade hub first began. The Oude Haven was heavily damaged in the 1940 bombing, but today it's a beautiful historic shipyard where you can see the old ships moored. So this area also has the contrast between past, Oude Haven, and present and future cube house standing side by side. To finish off our first architecture tour, we are here at the incredible Bollyman Museum. This museum opened in 2021, the world's first public accessible art storage. We had not enough time to see the interior of this museum, so we just looked around the outside view of it. Although it was just outside of the museum, it was incredible. The entire building is covered in 6,609 mirrored panels. It reflects the city, the sky, and even us. Now we are on the train for the second identity, the port. We are crossing the Erasmus Bridge. This iconic bridge, nicknamed the Swan, connects the historic city center on the north with the brand new development area, the south. As soon as we cross to the south area, we see the Phoenix Building. This is now the Museum of Migration, which tells the story of Rotterdam being a massive hub for people leaving Europe and people arriving in Europe. Look at these insane mural stairs. They are a brilliant modern touch on this old building, aren't they? Additionally, we were so moved by the photo exhibition here, The Family of Migrants. This shows lots of immigrant stories, and there was also the story of the great scientist Einstein, who had to immigrate from Germany to the United States due to Nazi oppression. There was one more thing. We found a fascinating display of lots of luggage that some pioneers took with them. You can even listen to the audio stories of people who migrated from these. Looking around this whole Phoenix, we also found Holland American Cruise Terminal through the window. This is where massive passenger ships used to depart, taking European immigrants to America in the 1950s. Look at that pointed tower. It's the Euromast. We didn't have much time to climb it, but if you go there, you can see the entire harbor and scenery of Rotterdam. We've seen the architecture and the port. Now, let's move to the best place to feel the multicultural spirit, the Markthal. Look up! This is Arno Kunen's incredible mural, Horn of Plenty. It symbolizes the global food abundance arriving via the port. You can find Chinese, Japanese, Dutch, German, and so many other cuisines here. It truly feels like the world's kitchen. Among various foods, we tried to grab some Turkish food, pide and kunefe. We've never tried this kind of food before. Additionally, we interviewed some people here. We heard how original recipes must adapt from a Chinese noodle vendor. We asked if living here has influenced their original recipes. Then she told us that they slightly changed their recipe to be more salty or sweet to suit Dutch palates. When we asked another vendor from Japan who is working in a ramen restaurant if people feel like they enjoy Japanese food, she highlighted the Markthal effect. She meets people from all over the world every single day, enjoying food outside their own heritage. When asked what multiculturalism meant to her as well, the answer was simple. She felt grateful because the people she met here are so friendly and open to learn different cultures. Finally, not only the indoor market, if you want the real, raw multicultural vibe, you have to hit the street markets as well. And one more place we can feel the diversity is here, Afrikanderplan, the big street market. This market proves that Rotterdam is home to over 117 nationalities. Similar to the street market in Leiden, it was quite large, selling a variety of fruits, vegetables, and food from different countries. Lastly, we visited Lauwenskirk, the only medieval church that survived the bombings. It survived, but it was still heavily damaged and required decades of reconstruction. Inside the church, we found something amazing, an exhibition showing various countries' altarpieces and traditional games. There were various altarpieces for different countries' holidays, Chinese New Year, Christmas, and even Santa Claus Day. We got to try a traditional game. As soon as we entered, we saw the people playing Yoon, which is a Korean traditional game. Since 2 people on our team are Korean, seeing Yoon in the historical Dutch church, that was incredibly interesting. Also, we got to try to do a Dutch traditional game called Spijkerpoepen. The contrast of this sacred place and us doing dynamic games, it was so funny and we'll never forget it. What an impressive day! Our long day of tracing Rotterdam has finally come to an end. We began this journey with a simple curiosity. What background lies beyond Rotterdam? To do that, we walked along the history of Rotterdam, focusing on 3 keywords: modern architecture, the port, and multiculturalism. Every site made us realize that Rotterdam is a city bursting with resilience, global connections, and rich human stories. What about immersing yourself in Rotterdam itself rather than just seeing Cube House?